You are now tuned in to the Dads Who Lift podcast. Please give us a like, share, subscribe to the YouTube account. We are on www.dadswholiftofficial.com. All the podcast links are in there. We also have an apparel line that's taking pre-orders right now. We're on IG as Dads Who Lift Official handle. We're on Facebook, Dads Who Lift Podcast. We also have a Dads Who Lift fitness group on Facebook that's Dads Who Lift Official. A group of 30,000 like-minded dads that are just trying to be their best selves and staying fit. If that's something you're into, please check it out. But we do this stuff for free, guys, so please give us a like, share, 5-star review. We really appreciate your support. All right, you are now tuned into the Dads Who Lift podcast. We have your host, Tyler Gata, co-host
Joel Staley,
and we have on special guest, Caleb Moran. What's up, Caleb?
What's going on, guys? How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going. So we are going to talk about mortality this podcast, something that nobody talks about, and it's pretty fitting because I just killed Joel in 75 hard. Got him. So you lasted, we talked about 75 hard before. You actually lasted quite a while, though.
not really, 12 days. I made it to a date night, and we got like halfway through. We met with some friends, and then everyone's drinking
Get you every
shit,
time.
and I was like, man, fuck this. Yeah, next thing you know, I'm like 3 martinis deep, vodka martinis, and it was all good, but I got a little bit out of it. I don't see me going 75 straight, though.
Then you
That's
got
a
back on the train, though.
I did for like till the next date night.
Because that was your biggest sales week that you've had this so far,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you were like, there's got to be something to this 75 hard because I just sold more than I've ever sold.
So that's where I'm at right now is I last Monday I brought on a coach to help me build out a sales team, and they guarantee you 2 closers within 8 weeks. But basically I got to get all my SOPs in place. I am vetting, interviewing all these people. They tell you got to dedicate 10 hours a week to it. So for the first couple days, trying to go on my bike ride, like not seeing my daughter, and then trying to figure out time for this. I was like, yeah, I'll pick this 75 hard back up later.
I don't know if it's that way. I mean, usually always drinking is what usually breaks you, isn't it?
Yo, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the one time I actually did it, yeah.
Oh.
But
Well, then you went 4 days and then drank again, right?
then I hired them on a Monday.
It's fucking tough, dude. Like I'm on day, what am I on? 30,
You're up there.
31 or something now? I don't know. I'd have to look, but something like that. And it's hard. Like last weekend. Oh, so this is what's crazy. This is what I've realized, but it's a good thing. But what I've realized is that, so last weekend, right? I'm at the cabin. I'm with my buddies. I'm with my son. We're having a good time. But I was really struggling Saturday night. I really wanted a beer. And they weren't even partying hard. They were actually just taking it easy. But I still really wanted a beer. And I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. So I stayed on the 75 hard. Like, I'm not going to make it 30-some fucking days and quit. That would be just retarded. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in this for the long haul. But what I've realized is that my life is so stressful that I'll use those weekends and that drinking as an escape to like cope with the stresses of my weekly, daily life that's stressful as fuck. And it helps me like get through it. And now I've realized with this 75 hard that I don't have that every weekend, and it's like tougher, that days are just more draining and more daunting. But what I've realized also is that I've been accepting shit in my life. I've been living my life and accepting things that I really don't like to do. And I've been making them work, using that drinking as a crutch on the weekends. And basically like, say, I have a job that I don't love. But then every weekend, it's stressful as fuck. And I hate my weeks during the week. I grind my ass off and I'm not enjoying life.
Yeah,
but then every weekend I get to escape and go party. Then it's like, it's okay. I can get through it. Now I don't have that weekend escape, go party. And now I'm like reevaluating my life going, shit, is this really what I want to do? Is this really how I want to live? 5 days of the week, every week, or you know what I'm saying? Like with work. And so I've kind of seen it that way. And I actually just hired Caleb, which is obviously, Caleb's a motivational speaker, used to be what am I looking for here?
He's the mindset coach for my fitness program, and he's just an asset. I can't even imagine running it without him at this point.
Right, but he's a coach too. So I just hired Caleb to kind of help me figure stuff out with my life and kind of where I'm going and things of that nature. But it's just crazy how you kind of switch things up and then it puts things into a different light.
I found something similar, and it's funny because speaking of that, me and Caleb were talking about it on a recent mindset call. is like German Shepherds and Border Collies. You'll notice that they're very task-oriented dogs. If you give them something to do, if they're out herding sheep or whatever, they're happy, they're fulfilling their purpose. And then once like you leave them alone and they have nothing to focus on, they start digging up holes in your yard. They create stuff to do. So what I found is what 75 hard worked well for me is like it's 7:30 at night. And I'm like, man, I still got to read 10 pages to go on this bike ride. It was keeping me busy. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like whenever I'm bored, that's when I start digging the holes in I'll start drinking or just like eating shit in the cupboard. Whereas if I'm keeping super busy, if I have a full schedule, like again, Caleb talks about a lot, and I don't have any of that downtime, it's like I go to bed without needing, kind of like you were talking about, that escape or just to not be bored anymore.
I feel like it goes the same way with like vacations too, man. Like, you know, we're still, you know, COVID's going on, shit's locked down. So I don't think anybody's been vacationing as much as they normally do. I've had 2 trips out of the country planned so far that I've had to cancel. And so that's like my deal too, is like every weekend I'd have something to look forward to. Either I'm going on vacation or I'm going to my cabin, getting fucked up, you know, some kind of release. So I really need to find a release. Doing this 75 hard has kind of showed me that I either need to restructure my life to be more of what I want and more accommodating so it's less stress level, or I need to find a better release sober that doesn't include escaping, like getting away or having drinks or whatever like most people do.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Caleb? I'm curious because...
Yeah, I think, man, it's just something everybody battles and faces, because when you start, you know, that phrase, living for the weekend, when you start living for the weekend, what you're not doing is being intentional in your present. And I think when you start doing something like a 75 hard, it's making you think about every minute, every hour, every day, and you're living in that moment rather than saying, you know, I'm just going to get through this so I can go get plastered on the weekend. And I don't know, man, coming from me, an ex-addict, I think anytime you have a dependency on something, what you also have is a neglect in something else. So you're neglecting something you should be dealing with because you have this dependency that helps you not deal with it. And whether it's drinking, whether it's overeating, whether it's smoking, whatever the case is, I think a lot of times it's a form of procrastination. We just push it back until we don't have to deal with it. But one day, many of us have all been to that place. One day it all gets thrown in your face and you have to deal with it, you know?
What's nuts is, if you have an addictive personality, and this is something I've been finding about myself for a while now. And Caleb, I'm pretty sure you do too, because you said you were an addict. Now we know, like, super hard worker. You're always focused on something. You're always up whenever I text you working on something. So it's just pointing those addictive traits towards something a little bit more useful than destruction.
Yeah, just redirecting it, because it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends on where it's aimed.
Big time.
For sure. Yep. So with this mortality topic, I really wanted to do this because it's something that nobody talks about. And Caleb, we kind of talked about it a little bit on the phone when I was deciding to do this topic, but and Joel, we did too, but mortality, like death, is something that everybody is going to die. I mean, that's like one of the guarantees in life, is that you're going to die, but nobody thinks about it. Nobody talks about it. I mean, you might have like jokes like, you know, YOLO, live every day like your last, or, you know, whatever, but no one actually sits down and talks about it. And it's one of the most certainties. It is like the most certain thing that's going to come out of life. So, and I've talked to you about this, Caleb, before, but I'm interested to get your guys' take. And this is just a start out, and we're going to go somewhere else after we get past this point. But I was brought up Christian. I do believe in God 100%. And as a child, when I thought about death, which I tried not to think about it like I think everybody does. I think everybody just buries it and tries to stay busy, and you don't really think about it till you're on your deathbed. Which I don't think is the right way to go about it now that I'm actually accepting it as an adult. But when I was a child and I thought about death, man, even though I believed in God, there's always been doubt in my mind. And every time I would think about death, I would just think about this black hole, you know? And like I would feel this fucking emptiness inside me and feel like I was just going down this black hole. And it was the scariest fucking thing Joel, your eyes are huge
Where do you
right
think
now.
that comes from?
I don't know,
That's
man.
crazy.
Your eyes are huge.
I know. I've heard you say before that, like,
but
you do not like thinking about death.
The nothingness. Like, to me, it was like, man, what if there's just nothing? What if the end of this world, the end of the life, it just, you're dead and there's nothing. It's just blackness. Like, it's never going to be ever again, you know? And that's like the scariest feeling ever, even as an adult now. When I think about it and I start going down that hole, I like try to think about something else because it's scary as fuck. And I want to know, Joel, Mr. like nothing bothers me, what do you think happens when you die?
Dude, that's funny you bring that up because back when I worked at my corporate 9 to 5, I was reading an article because that's, you know, what you do when you're in a cubicle all day. And it was talking about this app. And basically you download this app, it costs $1, and it just randomly pings you 5 times a day. It reminds you that you're going to die someday. And the whole reason behind it is like the Mayans.
That's actually a good thing, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, they used to practice just reminding themselves that they were going to die. So say like I was in transportation, a shipment didn't get picked up, customers calling, chewing my ass. I'm like, oh shit, my boss is going to freak out on me. If he calls in front of Amy, she's going to think this. And then like I'd get this little ping. Hey, just a reminder, you are going to die someday. Never know when. And it's like, oh shit, like missing this guy's shipment doesn't seem like such a big deal anymore.
Right.
And it's been like probably 8 or 9 months. I deleted it because it was starting to get annoying. But no, I mean, I'd be more concerned. And it's funny, I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm more concerned with, you know, death coming and me not having my checks and balances in place for my family getting taken care of. That would be, besides like one of my family members dying, the worst possible thing. If I were to die, business was starting to get better, but like I didn't have a plan for the worst case scenario. And so they like had to sell the house, had to pick up other jobs, had to downgrade preschools, shit like that. That's like what gives me that black pit in my stomach. As far as death, man, I feel like if I came here and did what I was meant to do, which I honestly feel like I'm on that track, it doesn't really like, I don't have that same sort of feeling.
Do you feel like you're going to go to heaven though? Like, you believe in heaven? Personally, what do you think happens when you die?
I believe more so in the reincarnation than heaven per se. So yeah, I just feel like we're all energy and that energy goes up somewhere. Maybe it's like 100 years, you don't even realize it. And then you fall into something else. Maybe you come back as a tree. Maybe you come back as like, I don't know, a tiger in a zoo or some shitty thing like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Some shitty thing. It'd be pretty cool to be a tiger.
I don't per se believe in like a heaven and hell. Maybe to the fact that, you know, you do get out of life what you put into it. So maybe if you are a shitty person, you'll come back in some form of something. You have to learn that lesson so you can continue to evolve. So say like you're super money driven and you're not about relationships and blah, blah, blah. Well, then maybe you come back in some sort of scenario where you learn a lesson.
See, and I've heard a lot of that too. And that's actually been something I talked to Caleb about too. But to me, even that's fucking sad though. Like say reincarnation is the thing, then this life, this existence that you have right now, when you die, even though you come back as something else, you're never going to remember it again.
Yeah.
You're never going to remember your kids again. You're never going to remember your wife again. Like, never going to remember your family again. It's just scary as shit. Like I really want to believe in heaven, but I struggle with heaven because I do believe in the universe. I do believe in energy, and I believe in God. I believe that there is a creator 100%, but I'm kind of with you to where it does seem like it makes more sense to me that there's multiple universes. I think there's multiple existences. You know, everybody is energy. And energy never dies. Like you turn a light on, the energy doesn't die. When you shut the light off, you turn it back on, different energy comes back. So like if we are just energy, then maybe the energy just leaves this body, goes back in the universe and gets reincarnated into something else in the universe. But like I said, that's still a scary, like gut-wrenching thought to me. And I want to believe in the heaven. So I'm really curious as to, because I know, Caleb, you believe in heaven. And I'm just really curious as to kind of what got you there, or how you, I guess what makes you believe that, or how you got to that point in your life.
Yeah, no, like you, I was raised Christian, and I think a lot of people, their belief systems they're trained into them as a kid. I mean, some people are raised Catholic, some people are raised Muslim, some people are raised with no belief, and The thing about the mind, I mean, even today's episode, we're talking about mortality. The thing about the mind is the mind can just figure stuff out, try to figure stuff out. It can get so detailed and elaborate. Like, you were having that thought of this big black hole, what if I'm going to fall in this hole? And then the other side of it could be, what if you don't? What if there's this amazing paradise, or what if there's this awesome opportunity, like you guys are saying, to come back and do this. And for me, what I've had to do is I've had to find what I consider an absolute. And I think in anything, even in fitness, all the guys are listening to this, they all have that one belief when it comes to what they do in the gym. And until somebody can prove that belief to be wrong, or that there's a better way, and they stick to that. And, it's like people who count their macros or count their calories or whatever the case is, for Joel, Joel's real big on fasting. And now, because he showed me that that actually works, that's what I do now. So for me, it took going through certain challenges in life. I mean, man, at 13 years old, my brother died in a car accident. He was high on coke. He was drunk and hit the side of the bridge and crushed his chest on impact. That made me mad at God, right? And so here I am mad at God, going, well, if God's so good, why would this happen to my brother? But that's my mind. That's my experience. That's what I've gone through. So I can't throw God to the side just because of my emotion or because of something that happened to me. So for me, I've had to say, okay, I have to believe in the Bible. If not, then there's something else I have to believe in. So what am I going to believe in? And in believing in the Bible, I've got to stick with it long enough to see it proven in my life. And I've seen God, in my life in so many ways come through where I haven't seen friends come through. I haven't seen family come through. I haven't seen my own self come through. I've failed myself a million times. But I've seen in my pursuit towards doing the best that I can, being a follower of Christ, giving my life to him, not only at a young age, but continually, because I think we keep missing the mark. And for me, I have a confidence, man. And the Bible says you can. The Bible says if you give your life, if you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, then there's a confidence that you can have in knowing that not only are you going to go to heaven, but that you're a child of God. And so I think it comes down to people's willingness to be open to a new relationship. It's just like if you got divorced, and then there was a bad relationship there, you may be closed off to getting married again. You may be closed off to even dating again. And some people have been hurt by religion. They've been hurt by life. They've been hurt by whatever, and it causes them not to trust. And I think to know that there's a heaven or a hell is going to come from a trust that there is someone bigger than you that is ultimately in charge of your future. But it's a choice that we have. And so that's kind of where I stand on it, man. I fully believe that Jesus Christ is real. I fully believe that God is his Father. I fully believe in the Holy Spirit. I fully believe in all those things, not because I was taught, but because I sought it out for myself. And I think as an adult, you got to stop going by what you've been told at some point and start digging for answers yourself. Just be careful where you're digging, because you can find all kinds of stuff out there. So that's my take on it, man.
Yeah. And it's crazy how, not to make this a religious podcast, but it's crazy how, there's one constant in pretty much every country and every religion and every society, and that is Jesus. And it's, everybody has different takes on like what happened. Some believe, that he died on the cross. Some believe he didn't, but if you look back in history, everyone can agree that there was basically God, that somebody was there, thousands of years ago, which is pretty crazy.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about
Caleb?
religions.
Yeah, even scientifically, like when people talk about the universe and that the universe has power, I don't doubt that, man. I mean, if you
Well, the universe is God. That's how I see it.
well, yeah, and that's what I'm trying to tell people is a lot of people have beliefs, but my question is to their beliefs is how can you prove that? And so when people want to give theories, only way I can prove what I believe is that my full faith has to be in the book that I read called the Bible. And it's like, even when you go to, you get the judicial system, the laws, everything has to go according to that book. And, you can't go outside of the laws and expect something to, I mean, I guess we do sometimes, but you can't go outside of the law and expect things to be how you want them, right? So there's a common ground. And so for me, when you read the Bible in Genesis, it talks about in the beginning that, there was nothing. And then God said, or God spoke the worlds into existence. And those worlds is not just planet Earth. I mean, you're talking about galaxies, and there's science has proven that the universe is still expanding. It's still growing, and it's still evolving. And I don't contribute that to slime. I don't contribute that to an explosion. I don't contribute that to an amoeba. I contribute it to what the Bible says. God spoke, and boom, it happened. And it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to make sense to my brain for me to believe in it. Like, I don't understand how, like, we can take a picture and that event is on my phone. Like, I don't understand it. I still don't understand cassette tapes. Like, how can you record sound on a cassette tape or a record, right? But we're way past that now. We're on MP3s and we're on DVDs.
The picture thing freaks me out. I have to stop thinking about that after a couple seconds, because I'm like,
oh, what?
How you can just like snap a picture and then it prints out. I just don't get it.
Even going into a black room or a dark room, how does that happen? So it doesn't change the fact to me that pictures exist.
Do you get it?
I just can't figure it out. Those are things you think about when you're smoking weed, right? It's like,
I've wondered about that so many times. I'm like, I just got to stop thinking about this and do something else.
That is when Joel's smoking weed, for sure.
It's like way over here.
But it's the truth, man. I can't figure that stuff out, but I don't have to figure it out.
What I do know is that all that we know is our perception. Like,
yeah, no doubt.
That's all anybody can ever know or tell anybody is their experience, their perception. That's why there's so many different takes on different things. I mean, there might be 3 different books on one event that happened, 3 different people that were there, 3 different books on that same event, and a total different story from each book, because everybody sees everything in a different light. So
the thing about the Bible, man, that a lot of people don't understand is you've got multiple authors that had a written account that some of those guys were 600 years apart from each other, and yet all their stories matched. And so, to me, anyone who doesn't like the Bible or doesn't like religion, they just haven't studied enough to see where's even the scientific, the historical proof. And I think that helps our brain to know there is some historical proof, some scientific proof.
I didn't know that. There's people in the Bible that are 600 years apart.
I want to bring up aliens so bad right now, but I know it'll totally derail the whole podcast. So we'll put a pin in it for now.
How did if they're 600 years apart in their story in the Bible, and I'm just asking because I seriously don't know and I'm curious, how'd they all know God if they're 600 years apart? Because God wasn't 600 years old.
So the Bible talks about how the actual Bible, the written Bible, was inspired by the Holy Spirit, which means, you got somebody who's going to sit down and write a book, or, whether it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Genesis, all of those things. You got Old Testament, New Testament, and I'm not going to give you a theology, course, but it's, all of these authors lived at different times. And so in recording what they recorded, and it's all documented historically when they wrote that, if it was AD or if it was BC, their stories matched, their accounts matched. And it was amazing to see, because not everything was written at, what they were talking. When we were reading the New Testament, they were reading the Old Testament. So they were writing the New Testament with Old Testament understandings. So it just all matched up, man. It's a Holy Spirit inspired book, if that makes any sense to anybody who's listening.
So not everybody in the Bible actually
lived at
physically met Jesus?
Oh, no. I mean, Moses didn't meet Jesus, Abraham.
I guess I don't know much about the Bible.
So, well, yeah. And we can talk about in our coaching sessions, bro.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole, but no matter what you believe happens after you die, I believe in God. We've discussed this stuff, but no matter what happens, mortality still seems to be this one thing that nobody speaks about. Everybody's going to fucking die. You're going to die. I'm going to die. And what I've realized as an adult is, so I had that feeling as a kid, that fear, you know what I mean? And I've even had that fear as an adult that I had as a child, thinking about death. Joel, I think you're kind of ahead of the curve on this one, I guess, but I don't think most people do think about it and accept it like you have. And so I'm at this point, and the reason I wanted to do this podcast is I'm at this point to where I feel like I am starting to finally accept it and work on accepting it. And it's empowering. So it's like, death doesn't need to be morbid. Death doesn't need to be this, sad thing that we talk about on this podcast. And it's this grim, shitty podcast. The way I see it now is like, no matter what happens to me, and I'm going to continue working on that with, coaches and people like Caleb, and I probably need to start reading the fucking Bible, and I'm sure he's probably going to have me start reading the Bible so I can get my own kind of concrete what I feel is going to happen when it's done. And, you can feel whatever, but nobody, I don't think anybody really 100% knows,
Have you been to any like funerals in the last 5-10 years or so?
Yeah.
And how do you like typically handle those?
I guess, they've all been, my grandpa just passed away, a few months back, but he was old. He had dementia. He had a great life. I feel like it was his time, and I truly felt like he went to heaven, So, I don't know, man. It's kind of weird. I guess I go back and forth. I believe in God. There's times where I believe in heaven, and there's other times where I think about the universe and I think there's no fucking way there's a heaven. Everything's just energy, and I'm more on that train. So I don't know. But the point that I'm making, the fact of the matter is that everybody's going to die, and you have to use that as a positive. So once you can accept that I'm going to die, then you start living your life in a different light, right? So you hear stories of people that die and come back, or you hear stories of people that are super fucking close to death and they end up living somehow, and they come back and they completely change their life. They quit their job. They sell their business. They start following their passion. They start doing what they want to do. They stop, they might've been an addict before, and they quit using drugs, and their whole trajectory of life, once they die and come back and get a second chance, changes. And the whole trajectory, when it changes, is on their purpose. They're doing what they want to do out of life. They're living their passion. They're being fulfilled. And what I'm saying and what I'm realizing is that it doesn't take you dying or getting close to death to have that happen in your life and to do that. All that you have to do is accept death. And once you can accept death, then you can say, all right, I'm going to die. Nobody knows when. You don't know when. I don't know when. We could leave this fucking building, get hit by a car, and die today. You know what I mean? Nobody knows when you're going to die. But if you can accept I am going to die, then for me, I start seeing life differently. It's no longer, it doesn't matter what's happening right now. I'm just going to grind my ass off for the future. I start seeing more like, man, I want to enjoy life now. I want to do what I love now. I want to follow my passion now. I do want to live every day like it's my last. You know what I mean? Because what's the point? If we're sitting here and we just put off death and we don't think about it because we're scared of it, like most people do, and we just go through the daily routines of like, hey, I'm going to bust my ass and work 7 a.m. to 9 o'clock, which I've been doing lately, and not have a lot of time for my kid, not take vacations, not, just grind because I'm trying to get to this place that I think I need to be, that really doesn't fucking matter anyways.
Exist, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then what? Then I'm going to wait till I'm 70 or 65 or 70 to say, oh shit, I'm going to die. I got to work on this and accept it. And maybe I should start enjoying life. No, I'm going to accept that right now. I'm going to die right now. And I need to start enjoying life right now. I need to start following my passion right now. And you know what? If that means that I have and this is not what I'm saying is going to happen for me, but I'm just saying in general that if that means that I hate my fucking job, but I make, bank, I make $500,000 a year at my job, but I hate my fucking job, and me quitting my job to follow my passion means that I'm going to have to change my life course and make less money, then maybe that's something you need to do to actually enjoy life. And maybe, just maybe, once you actually do that, like Joel, it's going to actually turn out to where you make more money anyways because you're following your passion and you're actually doing something that you're wholeheartedly invested in.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened with you.
Yeah.
You quit your 6-figure job that you hated, followed your passion, made way less money at first, but now you're making
pretty good money,
way more times what you made before. And you're happy every day and you're following your passion.
Yeah, and I just feel fulfilled. So that's another. And when you say I hated my job, I just knew that like you're saying, I'm not supposed to be here. I should be doing something else. Like I don't give a flying fuck if this truck picks up this load or not. At the end of the day, I don't care. Whereas like Caleb loses 40 pounds and like he feels better and he's finding something that works for him, can still go on date night with his wife, and like he just seems happier. Yeah, I get fulfilled from that. I love it. So. And that was like we spoke about on a recent podcast, was like, it's funny you bring it up because that's what my thought was. Okay, if I'm on my deathbed 40, 50 years from now, and I just say, okay, well, I took the safe route, stayed at my job and, made pretty good money. It was safe, like had a house, had a family. If I never took that leap, even though I'm like, dude, there's a great chance I'm going to fall on my face here, I knew that I'd be on my deathbed regretting it. So I'm like, well, here's to you, old Joel. Let's just see what happens type deal. But yeah, I think that's what it's all about. Find out what matters to you. Find out if you do believe in a higher purpose, why you were put here. Because if you believe in that, you got to believe that you're here for some reason, not just to like sit around and make money or like watch the new Netflix show. Like, why are you here? What do you naturally like to do? What are you driven towards? And focus on doing that.
I think too, guys, I think it's a difference in understanding what's a responsibility and what's a priority. I think a lot of us, we wake up every day and we are slaves to our responsibilities. And, I remember looking at my son. I have 5 kids and my youngest son, he's 6 now. But at 3, he was diagnosed with leukemia and took him to the hospital to start treatment. And he ended up almost dying that week, was in a coma. So here I am looking at my son. Doctors are saying he's not going to make it to the end of the week. And real quick, my job was not on my mind. My, all the pressures that I had on me, things that I wanted to accomplish, it was not on my mind. Right then, my son became priority. And I began to think though, like, man, did I even throw the football with him? Like, and I know those are dumb things, but it's father stuff, like, did I show him anything? So I started right then making major changes. And I think you're right. You don't want to wait until it's too late to start making those changes. And I think most people, if they would understand how to be legacy driven, that your life is not just about you. It's not just about, a legacy is not leaving something for people. It's leaving something in people. And although you can leave things, I got life insurance, I have IRAs, I got mutual funds. When I die, my family's going to be good, right? But I don't want my family just to be good monetarily. I want my sons, I want my daughter, I want my friends, I want my family to say there's a piece of Caleb that lives on in me, some things that he did for me or shared with me. And so, obviously we're all dying right now. Every day we're closer to expiration than we were the day before. But that being said, we have to learn that, that fear, so to say, of dying really gives us more of a deadline, almost like a goal. Like when this deadline has to happen, I know the steps I need to put in place to get to that. And so for me, do I live every day like I'm dying? No. Do I tell people to do that? Yeah. Should I live every day like I'm dying? Absolutely. But we get distracted. But if I can start being intentional in some things, then that intentional decision will spill over into other things. And so, there's certain things I make sure I do. My dad's almost 70 years old. My mom, she's not far from it. And so I just make sure I call them every day. My kids, I kiss them, on the forehead every night before they go to bed. I date night with my wife, and all those things that I try to put into my plan, my schedule, my calendar. But I think at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, if I did die today, what would they say at my funeral? What would they say about me? Would there be any of me left whenever I leave? Is there a legacy that I'm leaving? And, making every day count, being intentional is so key, I think, in understanding that you're not promised another day. But also, look, we're all witnesses, the older I get, my God, I went to a trampoline park with my kids the other day and my back hurts, it's like, I used to do so much on a trampoline and now I just don't even get on them anymore. And so there's physical signs of mortality, But I think even what you're touching on today, us understanding the thought of it and at least trying to be intentional, finding priorities in our life and becoming extremely intentional in our relationships. And I think too, that involves yourself. You got to work on you, not just those that are around you. So being selfless is one thing, right? And I think we talked about this on a podcast before, but also learning to take some selfish times to really intentionally change who you are is so key in understanding where you're going.
Yeah, I think about this too. And life's all about balance. And I think everything's about balance. But if you were to tell me you're going to die tomorrow, right? I'm not going to spend today getting my fucking power list done. You know, like I'm not going to spend today making sure that my accounts are lined up. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to spend today with my son. I'm going to spend today with my family. And obviously you can't do that every day and you never know when you are going to die. So it is about balance. But it just kind of puts things into perspective, especially if you're somebody that does just drive yourself into the ground and works like crazy, like me. You know, I find myself, you know, quite oftenly, you know, my son will come up to tell me something and it's, if I'm working late, it's like, 5 minutes, bud, give me 5 minutes. I'm almost done, you know? And that, you know, another hour comes by and he comes, hey dad, I want to show you my dirt bikes. And this happened last night. You know, he's all proud cause he colored on his dirt bikes and, you know, drew on them and designed them and stuff. And I'm, you know, hey, almost done, bud, 5 minutes, you know? And that was a dick move, you know? I mean, I worked till like 8:30 or 8 o'clock again. I think like 8 o'clock last night. And there was definitely like 2 hours where the babysitter left, where he was home trying to show me shit. And I kept putting him off. And I did realize it though. When I got done, I gave him a big hug and a big kiss. And, I went and put my phone in my room and I left it in my room and he was on his Xbox and I said, hey bud, come out. And I mean, I still had to eat dinner and all this stuff, but I said, come out, we're going to spend some time together. And I left my phone in the room and we had dinner and watched TV and, you know, we kind of hung out the rest of the night. But yeah, that it's crazy to think about, like how, and also legacy, like you can have all the money in the world. And I'm not saying not to be success driven. I mean, I want to have nice things, you know, that's just who I am. I like to have nice things. But at my funeral, I don't want people to sit there and say, well, he worked hard. You know, he made a lot of money. Yeah. You know, I want people to remember memories. I want people to remember trips. I want people to laugh about stupid shit. I want people to laugh, you know, remember that time we almost died doing this, you know, like, yeah, I want to live life to the fullest. And it's very easy for me to get distracted from that and put my head down and grind and get caught in this daily just hustle and bustle of everyday life and forget that. And especially now with this COVID stuff, we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, but you know, pre-COVID, I at least had trips planned to where there was some kind of destination to where, oh, I'm going to go have fun. I'm going to go let loose. I mean, we had trips that we went and did. I mean, there was always something like, okay, I'm going to grind hard here, but at least we're going to enjoy this, you know? And now with this COVID deal, it's even hard to do that. So I find myself just grinding and not really ever looking up, you know, and that's a horrible way to look at life. Like I want to be more centered on what really matters to me in my life. And actually I like that fucking app. I didn't know that was a thing, but
yeah, I'll get it to you.
I like that app idea that you talked about, that it reminds me of your death, because that's another thing too. And not to ramble on too long and not let you guys talk, but you know, I'm very critical as well. And I'm critical of myself and I'm critical of the people around me. I'm critical of my son. I like things clean. You know, I like things put back. I'm OCD. But it's like, if I'm going to die, if you're going to die tomorrow, and either way, like if you are going to die, which everybody is going to die, does it really fucking matter? Like those little things, do they really matter that much? You know, if the counters wiped down, or the forks put back where the fork's supposed to be, or, you know, the clothes are picked up off the floor. Like, yeah, I want to live in a clean house and a clean society, but is it really the end of the fucking world?
Yeah, I don't think you want to die with like a huge number in your bank account that obviously you can't take with you anyway, and then just crickets at your funeral because you were like cooped up in an office your whole life. Now, it is nice to have money, because I think in order to have people talking about you at your funeral, you have to be able to impact other people's lives in some way. So if you don't have money, that's creating memories with them, creating stories with them, just having these experiences. If you do have money and you really have like, you can make real significant impacts in people's life by donating to some cause or just whatever it is. I feel like the more people you can impact while you're here, the more people are going to be rejoicing your life at your funeral. And that's how I would determine, of course, as long as my family's set up for success when I'm gone, that if people are like laughing and like you said, just like telling old Navy stories and like trip stories at my funeral and kind of like they're sad, but it was like, but man, this was awesome though. I would see that my life being a tremendous success.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, like a very similar story. You know, I started a marketing company years ago, and I was working 115 hours a week. And same thing, man. My oldest son, he was like, I don't know, 6 at the time. He's 15 now. But he would come in and say, "Hey, Dad, I want to go throw the ball." And I would literally say, "Yeah, man, give me just a minute. I got to finish this project." And by the time I would close my laptop and look up, he was asleep on the couch, and it was 3 a.m. And I remember, man, I was in that for a couple of years. And then I started thinking, like, what did we do for his 7th birthday or his 8th birthday? Or what did we do for his 4th birthday? And I couldn't remember, man. And I'm not a deadbeat dad. I'm very intentional with my kids, but I think I got in this ambition that I want to provide this life for my family, that I just got to grind. I just got to grind. I just got to grind until we get there. And then my family and I are going to be able to have this great life. But the issue is while you're grinding, they're growing and you miss out. And so I read a book. Matter of fact, I texted to Joel the other day. I read a book called Dad. Author's name is Scott Anderson. And I think he redid the title. So if you're looking for it, there's also a title called More Than a Dad. But I read that book and it wrecked me, man. It really, really changed my life. And because what it taught me was it's not enough just to grind and do all those things, but you have to have a vision for your family. You know, no one goes on vacation without a destination. No one goes on vacation and just wings it. Like you finish the vacation before you start it, right? Because you know I'm going to be there for 5 days, so I need 5 sets of clothes. You know, this is the plane tickets. This is the amount of money I'm going to need for my food. You finish the vacation mentally before you ever even start it physically. And I think the same is true with a family or with children. You've got to mentally think about what you're doing and how this is going in the direction that you're headed. So I've just made a decision. I've had to put boundaries up. That's a really good word I think men need to learn is boundaries. You've got to put boundaries up in your life. Henry Cloud actually wrote a book called Boundaries. And it just helps you to understand boundaries are there to protect. It protects things from getting in. It protects things from getting out. And my boundaries had to be, look, I'm not going to bring my cell phone to the dinner table. I'm not going to be working, past 6 or 7 at night while I'm on the couch with my kids and my family. And it's just those constant reminders to say, hey, I need to be present in this moment. I also too, like we live in a society where everything's on the phone, like you're recording your kids doing what they're doing. I was doing that at a birthday party for my twins one day. And I just thought, I'm not even seeing them in real life. I'm in front of them, but I'm looking at them through this freaking camera. And so I just put it down. I was like, babe, you can record. I'm going to actually put my eyes on my kids blowing out their candles. Everything's so digital and social media and all of that can become a distraction if you're not careful. So
dude, that's a top 2 pet peeve for me is like, if I like pick up my phone and I'm checking something on Instagram or like replying to a text, and then I see Amy's on her phone too on the couch, and then Kennedy's just like chilling on the ground, and she looks up and we're both like this. I'm like, I put my phone down so fast, I'll turn it off, put it under the couch. I hate it. I hate seeing us through her eyes and just looking up and we're like, just scrolling. Oh, dude, I hate it.
You guys ever seen Richie Rich?
Yep.
It's been a while.
I mean, that's a good movie though. But like, kids can have all the money in the world, but if they don't have parents to enjoy it with and to experience shit with, it doesn't matter. Right. And on the flip side of that, I'm going to argue a point that if you were successful not living your purpose, you're going to be 10 times more successful living your purpose. Like if you were able to make a good amount of money not living your purpose, when you channel that energy on something that you're actually passionate about, you'll be able to make 10 times the amount of money. And it just flows. Like when I truly believe that we are put on this earth to do what we're passionate about, what drives us, what matters to us. And I think when we're in that zone and we're in that feeling and we can, I don't know, man, there's just a certain feeling when you know that you're on track and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and that it's meant to be. I think the universe brings back more opportunities to us, puts more things in our face, gives us more experiences, you know?
It's good, man.
Man,
got anything else, Joel?
Got the feels today.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good one.
I'm not truly convinced that Joel is actually, have you actually accepted your mortality?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm
fine with it.
You good
Fucking
with it?
put me out of my misery.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He just kind of puts stuff off sometimes, but I don't know. So I guess to end, Caleb, you got anything else you want to bring up and go over, man?
Man, I think for anybody who's out there searching, the main thing is just, for me, what worked for me was I found a relationship with Jesus, and it radically changed who I was. I can't explain it, but all I can tell you is, when you find what you need, when you find something that's real, and that was for me, man, it was so real and still is so real. And it truly is life-changing. Like you're saying, when you move from something you're miserable at into something that you're passionate about, I do believe that, we're all put here for a purpose, and finding that purpose is kind of like everyone's life's quest. But take some time, man, to just sit down and say, forget everything. What is so important to me right now? What's valuable to me right now? And like you said earlier, if the world's dying, we're not going to go knock out a new, PR on the bench press or something else. We're going to spend time with those people that it really matters. And so don't even just think about it, but how about you verbalize it? How about you tell somebody that you're close to today that you love them, that you appreciate them? And if it's a mom or a dad, maybe you're estranged. Is that strife or offense or bitterness or unforgiveness, is it worth harboring? Or is it better to just say, hey, let's just bury the hatchet and let's go ahead and start living life together, and counting our days as blessings rather than just living for the weekend, so to say. So, man, I appreciate you guys having me on. You guys always have great topics. You guys are always striving to be better, and I think all your listeners that are listening and watching are also striving to be better. And so I think things like this, discussions like this, it's proactive in getting people to think forward. So that's great, man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to end with just that people don't have to be scared of death. I don't have to be scared of death. There's power in accepting death. It doesn't have to be this grim thing that we fear and, gives us anxiety and anything like that. Once we can accept that we are going to die, which every single one of us is going to die, then we can use that power and channel that power into seeing life differently, into living life with purpose, into living life like it is going to be your last day. You know what I mean? Enjoying life. Stop focusing on the negative. Stop focusing on these little things that bother us, and start focusing on what really matters to us in our lives, whatever that may be. To me, it's just a big driving force now to get out of that everyday hustle and bustle. Even if I am still grinding, maybe it is still a busy day that I have a lot of things to get done with at work. I mean, I still do want to be successful and I still want to provide for my family. But it can change my mindset to see things differently. And at the end of the day, seems like that's what I'm always trying to do. And that's one of the biggest things, is just change your mindset. So I can look at something and be buried in it and hate my life, and grind away and just grind. Or I can be in that same situation where I'm grinding, but I can look at it and say, okay, what does this mean to me? Where am I going? I am going to die. So is this something that I really want to give my full energy to right now? Is this something that's really that important? If I'm on my deathbed, am I going to care about this? It just makes me look at things differently and allows me to be able to see my life for what it really is and not be buried, or have my head up, in the clouds, and actually see life for what it is so that I can direct it towards my purpose. And live a more fulfilled life is really what it comes down to.
Big time. Kennedy, I'm picking you up from daycare today, baby.
We're
Canceling my
partying.
calls.
So, like I said, guys, there's got to be balance. I mean, everybody's still going to work. You still got to provide for your families. Nobody does know when you are going to die. But like you said, Joel, and actually you've actually really surprised me because I think you got a really good handle on this topic, man. More so than I do. But you're completely right. If you can look, you are living your passion with your job. You're living your passion. You are spending your time with your child. If you die tomorrow and you can at least look back and say, hey man, I was on the way to doing what fed my soul. I'm taking care of my family. Then I think there is definitely a lot more of, oh man, what's the word I'm looking for? There's definitely a lot more acceptance in that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know what the full word I'm looking for is, but guys, if you got anything from this podcast, we really appreciate you tuning in. If you got anything, please give us a like, share, 5-star review. We really appreciate it. We have apparel, Dads Who Lift Apparel on www.dadswholiftofficial.com. We also have all the podcast formats. We're on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, all the formats we're on. So, like I said, we do this for free. Please give us a like, share. We really appreciate it. Subscribe. We are on IG as Dads Who Lift Official is the IG handle. We're on Facebook as Dads Who Lift Podcast. We also have a Dads Who Lift Facebook group called Dads Who Lift Official, which is a group of like 30,000 like-minded guys that are just trying to be their best fathers, their best selves, and stay fit at the same time. If that's something that interests you, check that group out. That's Dads Who Lift Official. Caleb, where can everybody find you, man?
And you can follow me on social media at the 400 Company, or you can follow my personal page, Caleb W. Moran. And,
awesome. Yeah.
Guys, again, thanks, bro.
No, thank you. Anybody that's looking for coaching, looking for a life coach, Caleb is definitely a good option. Definitely check him out. Give him a follow. Look at his content. Like I said, I just personally hired him, and I'm really excited about where we're going to go, man. So thanks again for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You guys have a good
It's like forever, no surrender. It's forever, this like forever. I bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive. I bigger dead than alive, dead than alive, yeah. I bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive,